Start with the pledge to the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll call, please.
Mr. Pendry?
Here.
Mr. Ellison?
Here.
Mr. Beazle?
Here.
Mr. Blau?
So we're missing a few tonight. Okay. Entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the June meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We're doing visitors and communications. Yeah. Come on up. Tell us about the Fort Thomas Business Council and what's going on this month.
Thanks for getting that. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't have the green jacket. I have my yellow
It's
shirt.
every year, Matt, sorry.
Hold on.
Well, that's all right. You can still use me Irish accent.
So I do have a little spiel to give, but I first want to introduce somebody that we had a ribbon cutting for this month. We have Mac Burris. I'll welcome up to the microphone and tell us a little bit about his business.
Sounds great.
Good evening, my name's Matt Gross and I own Elite Massage in KY. First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for all the support you've given us with the ribbon cutting and everything moving into the town. We've been in business for 9 years now. We're new to Fort Thomas, but we're happy to come in. We've got 6 therapists and about 80 years of experience is what we like to tout. We don't do a whole lot with chandeliers and fountains, so you guys don't have to pay for that. We like to keep it as affordable as possible for people to come in as frequently as they can. I do have a few coupons that I'll leave up on the sign-in desk there. If you guys want to take some on the way out there, I think it's 15% off, so feel free to grab those on your way out. And again, thank you very much, and I look forward to being here for a while.
Yeah, welcome to Fort Thomas. Thank you.
Yeah, you said those coupons were special.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, you gave it to us. Now you're giving it to everybody.
Well, to do the second one, then with the extra stuff.
Ours are worth double, man.
You can double them up.
Yeah.
And he's up, I don't remember if he said where he was, but they're up in Fort Thomas Plaza.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
Good check out where they are. Not too much else to report. We actually have a meeting this Thursday. I'm really excited about it. We're going to be, we have 2 speakers joining us. One's going to give us 2.0 on Google marketing. Seems like marketing is always a hot topic for business, so we're trying to give people what they want. And then the second portion of that meeting is going to be a lady talking to us about AI and how to utilize that in the business. Kind of hot topics these days. So we're going to have lunch catered by Padrino, so hope to see as many people there as possible. And then next month we're going to have a social over at Pickles. So
Great.
yeah, awesome. Appreciate all the support from the city. And let's not be anything.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I'll just chime in real quick. If that lady who's talking about AI is the same one who the Newport Business Council meeting, I think she is. I don't know anything about AI or very little, and I did attend that meeting, and it was very informative. So whether it's the same person or not, I'm sure it'd be worth everyone's time to attend. It was helpful. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you. That's great. Okay, we're on to more on visitors communications. First person I have is Sharon McKnight.
Good evening, Sharon McKnight, 62 Miller Lane. I'm speaking tonight about the ongoing revisions to our city's 2018 comprehensive plan. I want to highlight how this process is being managed, which unfortunately closely resembles the approach taken with the recent proposed zoning changes. In both cases, most of the work has been done internally between city staff and CT consultants with little transparency or genuine community involvement. I encourage everyone to watch the Planning Commission meetings from June 18th and July 16th to see exactly what I'm referring to. I want to bring it to council's attention now before it gets too far off course. At those meetings, Kevin Barbian presented goals and objectives language under land use and zoning goals and objectives from the comp plan for the planning commission to review. But the public couldn't follow along because materials weren't shared ahead of time or displayed during the meeting. Even some planning commissioners expressed concern, noting this wasn't really within their purview and asking what council members thought. Despite this, the commission was still asked to review and revise the language without any meaningful community input. Audience members were left confused about what was being presented, what changes were being discussed, and what was ultimately approved. That should concern everyone. How is that an independent review? How is the community input being incorporated? How can we call it transparent when the same firm that wrote the original plan is now helping decide what needs to change, again, behind closed doors? The comprehensive plan itself makes clear who this vision belongs to. On page 9, under overview of the vision of Fort Thomas, it states where we want to be. Not where city staff or a consulting firm wants to be, but where we want to be. Page 10 goes on to say, the following core principles form the foundation of our vision for the future of Fort Thomas. Stay true to our history and who we are as a community. And it continues, goals and objectives serve as a guide for the physical development and economic and social well-being of Fort Thomas. That's why community input is so very important. Why are we asking a small group of mayor-appointed volunteers to make major decisions about the vision of our city, like whether to remove phrases such as city in the park atmosphere or bedroom community from the city's overall vision for Fort Thomas without hearing first from the people who actually live here? These phrases weren't randomly chosen. In 2017 and 2018, they came from thoughtful community engagement. They mean something to residents. They shouldn't be erased just because a few board members don't understand or value them the same way. The bottom line is this: if you want to revise the community's goals and objectives, you need to ask community, period. That's why I respectfully ask council to possibly launch an independent community survey not run by CT Consultants, ensure transparency with council presence at these key meetings, engage residents before changes are drafted, open the process with clear agendas and real participation opportunities. There's no reason to rush this. It's already 2 years past due. Our city deserves a comprehensive plan that truly reflects the values and aspirations of the people who live here. Thank you for your time and your consideration on this matter. Thank you.
Yeah, just so, because I know we've talked about council meeting with planning commission. So what planning commission and staff have talked about is once they have suggestions on goals and objectives, that's when we want to meet. Probably they want to do it August, but in reality I think it'll be September once planning commission has a good idea of the details of that. And then once they have those suggestions, I think that's when we can meet with council just to let council know, hey, these are the suggestions. And then what's really important is the stuff that follows from that, right? Once we've established those goals and objectives, the kind of the meat of it, and that's what they're trying to do, is to be able to explain some of that with council before they move forward, because nothing can happen until that has been updated. So there's plenty of time, but it won't be a meaningful conversation if, for example, if they met with council right now. I mean, we can, but I'm trying to get them into understanding that process and then the meat behind that.
And forgive me because I forget the date when we last talked about this, but I remember somebody talking about there was a timeline of when if city council doesn't do anything, then where are we in that?
So there is no timeline right now. That only starts when planning commission approves goals and objectives.
Oh, okay.
But planning commission is not going to approve that until they meet with council. Because again, it's not just about approving that and getting council's blessing, it's what comes after that. And that's what really needs to be kind of explained and thought out before we move forward. So there's no timeline gonna start. Council's definitely gonna meet with planning commission prior to that. Because there's no point in them getting goals and objectives that council's not good with, because that's when all the real meat comes after that. So I know it's challenging, but it is, I mean, planning commission is trying to, digging in, and I've been seeing a lot of questions and answers, and it's been really good, and that's why we created that procedure that I sent out earlier, and we keep looking at that after each meeting to see where we need to tweak it, because that way every 5 years, we don't have to keep going through the KRS and making sure we hit everything.
All right, great,
Well,
thanks.
I just want to enter, I don't know, is it green on? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Reno.
I didn't know about CTD Consultants being involved until today. You know what I mean? I think it might have softened the blow for some of the conversations I had after finding out CTD. We would have known. We all talked about when the upgraded, as far as I know, all we talked about was surveys, not redoing it. And I'm fine. I don't mind. It should go through planning and zoning first. That's how it works. And then they come to us and then we make the final decision. So I like that process. It'd have been nice to have a little bit more information. So maybe it wouldn't have been so aggressive to them, I guess, knowing that CT Consultants is redoing this now. Because as far as I know, that all the conversations we have, it was almost like it was getting rubber stamped through. I'm glad to see now that it's actually not, and that we're actually updating it, to be honest with you, and we're listening. It just would have been nice to know a little bit more prior to it. But I do like the process. I think it goes to them, and we all meet at once because we do the final stamp. So.
Okay, great, thanks. Tiffany?
Tiffany Huber, 26 Hawthorne, good evening. I guess I heard a lot after Sharon talked about what you were doing, about what they were doing. And Mayor, I know when we spoke last time and I came up and I talked about transparency, this was about 2 meetings ago. I remember us talking about transparency as it relates to the community plan, as well as the involvement and the engagement of the citizens in wanting to be involved in this. And I realize that KRS only requires X, Y, Z, but I've also heard over time in these meetings that we're better than that and we can do more than the minimum. And to me, more than the minimum is including more people in terms of understanding what they want. Because ultimately, and I don't want to be disrespectful, because I know you've said before, that's why the people hire you, that's why or elect you and elect you all. But ultimately, they elected you all to do our work for the city and to carry forward what the constituents want, not what a small group of people have decided is what's best for the city. Now, yes, you are the leader in that. But I think when you're a leader, there's a lot of responsibility to make sure that everyone is heard. And I feel like, similar to Sharon, that we're going down the same road of not really opening it up to the people to see what they want for the city. And when we're sitting in these planning and zoning committee meetings, and we also recommended this last time, please, councilmen, go to the planning meeting and see what it is we're seeing. Because there's a lot of knowledge that's missing in those meetings. That's number one. And number two, and I'm being very fair when I say that. And the other thing is, it's basic, it seems like, well, what do you want? Well, what do you want? What do you think? What do you think? And it's not about what you all think. It's about what these people out here think. And the whole 17,000 residents of the people in Fort Thomas. And I can't get that through enough. And I'd like to ask, what are we doing with the community plan to make sure that our voice is heard, not just your voices?
I'm sorry that there's been misunderstanding over this. It's just as Adams just said and Matt said, the process that we started was it goes to planning and zoning first, and they review what was in the prior plan. Mm-hmm. From that review, then it comes to us. We've already gotten copies of the last survey that went out, I don't know how many years ago it was, for us to review. Our intent is once we get from them, after they've reviewed it, then it comes to us. We've talked about doing another survey and starting getting public input then. So it's just the process.
Okay,
It's
I
not,
just want to make sure you get the real input. Because I'll give you an
Well, what's
example.
real compared
When we
to?
went, I'll just give you an example. When we went to, Coffee and Conversations with CT
Right,
Consultants,
Right.
and then we saw the summary of the notes that they brought back to you, it was extremely watered down to where you didn't even really get the feedback. And that's why in several meetings, Plan and Zone, the council, and yet another meeting, I made sure that all of you had the handout of what was actually said in those meetings. I just want to make sure that that is happening.
Tiffany, do you and Sharon too, because I wrote that down to get with Sharon after this, do you guys have recommendations on surveys that would do what you're
I really
You're talking
think,
about?
and again, I don't know who's developed our surveys in the past. I don't think it should be the city or CT Consultants. I think it should be somebody else that gets true feedback from our city. I mean, I know you did the 2019 where you had people come to the committees.
Well,
Maybe if
yes.
you don't have time to do that, there's another way to do it, just like we did with Survey Monkey, where we found out who thought that the city should pay for the streets. And now we've gotten that taken care of, and more people are participating in that, even renters, so who are using the streets.
Well, that's what I was just talking about doing. We had a survey done before, and we plan on doing another survey.
Okay,
And I'm not sure why that is.
we just wanna make sure it's independent, that it's not from
Independent from-
CT.
Well,
And that's, and we can do that,
Yeah.
but what I was trying to get is, like, if you know of questions that, cause we can just have somebody come in and make questions, right? But I'm trying to figure out like what you and Sharon are saying that, and this is not for tonight, I mean, I'd like to meet with maybe both of you, but just like, what are some things that you're hearing that you feel like we really need to address? Cause then once we get that, then we can make questions off of it, right?
I think the city also needs to find a way, I think we can be creative as a town. How do we as a town get the developers together with the community, city council, city administration, and figure out other ways that we can raise funds besides tearing buildings down and putting buildings up and replacing our architecture or our green space and not refilling that green space? I know that all of these other cities are like, hey, let's have all this multifamily work, live, play. And I think that's great for a lot of areas, but I just don't see that as being the foundation of Fort Thomas or where we want to go. And so when we hear that the Planning and Zoning Commission wants to take out bedroom community or city in a park, yeah, we like the green space. We love going down Memorial Parkway and Highland Avenue and 27 and not having skyscrapers.
Okay.
So, and I know that's a huge revenue point for you all, and I get it, but let's be better than the other people.
Can I,
We're smart. All of us are. Let's figure it
can
out.
we talk a little bit more about what you just said, if I call you in
Sure.
a week? Cause I think that's interesting. I don't know, I've never thought of doing that, so I just don't know how that would work out.
Have
I'm
an
sure you have some
independent
ideas.
survey?
I'm sorry?
You mean having
That's right, and I have no problem doing an independent survey, because CT knows that they wouldn't help with that. I mean, I've already told them that. But it's still, you have to have some direction, right? And I don't wanna just go off of our last survey, which I don't think is bad, but I wanna know from you guys, like, when you're having a meeting, you're sitting in a meeting and you're thinking to yourself, they're not listening to us. I wanna know those parts so we can kind of expand upon that and ask questions. Does that make sense?
Can I say something?
Please.
And again, this is a much longer conversation I'd like
Just we'll make it quick.
to talk about.
When we're at these meetings, okay, I mean, even the planning commission, you know, this isn't our purview, you know, but so why are you asking us? I mean, this is the visions, the objects, the objections and our goals, which you need everybody's community input before you're changing the language. But what's going on is like, well, we don't understand what community in the park, city of park atmosphere or bedroom community, so let's just scratch it. This is how the meetings are going. If you watch the meeting, you can see that.
And
So we're under the impression that's happening.
I totally understand that, but again, the process is, they take the old plan, they review what was there. They can ask questions, they can make comments, they can do whatever. Then it comes to us. Then we can do the same thing, ask questions, whatever. And we've already talked about, we wanna do a survey. So I guess the thing is, what kind of questions should we put on the survey? So think of questions that you think would be helpful to find out, that we can send out to the entire.
Well, we want it independent from me too, because what I want could be different from
Well,
it.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? So it has to be
And
independent.
that's why I'm not really wanting specific questions, I'm wanting more ideas, that we can grab questions.
Like maybe a firm that does this professionally, that could come in and come up with the right questions for you, so you can get the correct input to
But
use.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, you're gonna have an outside firm that doesn't know Fort Thomas
Doesn't know
either,
Fort Thomas.
right?
Well,
So that's why, I think we can do
I
all
know.
of it, is my
Right.
point.
Right.
But if
I
I
know.
could meet with you and we can kind of start tracking those questions and just get a little bit more meat to the survey, is it?
Well, when you're in these meetings, you feel like the language is being changed, when they're going down the line, asking each one, what do you think? Yeah, that work for, we do this, we move
Well,
in, sure.
that is,
I mean, I don't
That's just
understand
the
the
process.
process,
Right.
and
That is
why
the
would you
process.
do that without the community input first? I mean, to me, that would make more sense.
That's just step one.
And I'll also say, we were at a planning commission once, and one of the members just said, well, if it's just the people that are here right now, then I don't really care, basically, and he just went on.
And he even said, how can we communicate better? He even said, let's make better communication so we can reach more people than us, which is fine, and we've been advocating for it, but when you give people an agenda that just says comprehensive plan discussion with no specifics on the goals and objectives that you were talking about, which were quite a lot, and we're all sitting there like, what the heck? You need that on the agenda, and we've been asking that over and over again, Matt, you know that. And just a simple thing would change the whole community's outlook. They'd show up. They'll be talking about this, I'm gonna be there.
Okay.
You understand what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
I think I do, but I wanna talk about it more, just to make sure. Okay,
Okay.
so it'll be mid to late next week, and I'll get,
Okay.
see if you both can meet together, if not, separately.
That's right, thank you guys for your time, appreciate
You know,
it.
they made me think of, you emailed us and asked us some stuff, what that we'd like to be on there. And, they made me think of a couple things. I think Brandfield did a great job of their survey, so combining one we had with Brandfield's, I think is a good idea. It's not about what our town is made of, or what people think of it. I think we should get in there, what people think of the changes lately. When I argue about a lot of stuff, I personally like One Highland, I like Fort Thomas Coffee. I just didn't like the funding mechanisms behind them, right? And people don't like change, so that was my take on it. That's how I felt about those buildings, But, so I think it would behoove us to see also not just what they think of us, but what they think about some of the changes that have been made in our parks, in our downtown, in the buildings. So that way we can get a better view of just what they call us Mayberry, but do they like these, also some of the new changes too. So to me, I like a well-rounded survey. I just don't want to focus on the old. Let's see what we've done and what they feel about it.
Okay.
All right, Ken Leininger.
I'm Ken Whitinger, I live at 52 Mayfield. Some of you will probably remember me from conversations I've had with you in the past about the development, use, and traffic in Highland Hills Park. I've addressed the council several times over the last 30 years about that, since we've lived there on the street. I wanted to come this evening and say thank you for the recent changes which have been made over the last year and a half, going on 2 years now, to the use of Highland Hills Park, specifically the change to the summer baseball schedule. That has had a huge positive impact on the traffic and the safety and quality of life of the residents and really anything adjacent to Highland Hills Park. So that was an issue that I addressed with you several years ago. Your response was very important to me and to the neighbors and to the others. Several council members came down and talked with us, visited the park, saw what was going on there. City Manager Kramer came and had a long conversation with me in the park about the use of the park. And the change, as I said, specifically to the summer baseball schedule has been huge. So I just wanted to say thank you for listening, for responding to that. And I also wanted to acknowledge, I know that those changes were not simple to make. I know that there was much discussion at the Recreation Committee level. There was a collaborative effort working with the school system because it was our contract with the school transit system that had a big impact on that. That contract, and it was renegotiated. There were many parties involved with that, so I know it wasn't simple. and appreciate the effort that you put into making that happen. So, thank you, good work.
And just so you know, I spoke to somebody from your street, I think a week or two ago, but the entrance there on Mayfield, that turnaround, that's gonna be redone.
Great.
Should be bid out by the end of this year, and it'll probably be an early spring project, just so, in case any of your neighbors talk about that. We're aware of that, we wanted to do it last year, but the project that started out a smaller project, once we bid it out, we realized it was much larger, so we had to push it back a year, so.
I appreciate
just to let
that.
you know.
Mr. Trevor, yeah, that will be a huge improvement as well. Because once people understand where they can and cannot park, and they understand the traffic flow, that'll keep them from turning around in our driveways and front yards.
And there will be a sidewalk that continued sidewalk all the way into the back, as opposed to now where it's kind of broken up and not as safe.
Again, more evidence that you're responding to the needs there, and just want you to know that it's very much appreciated.
Very nice of you to come up here and tell us that.
I want to thank you for that too. I think I've said this line many times, and I heard it from friends, so I'm stealing it. But two things I didn't understand until I got in government is how much things actually cost and how long the process takes sometimes. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of moving pieces in this, along with Highland Park and the resurfacing and trying to recoup some of that money, which went to the schools, went to everything, and then the effect it was having on the street, right? So there was a lot more moving pieces, and I know you were patient and you handled it very well. I'm sure you've been dealing with it a lot longer, but sometimes we don't realize how long you've dealt with it when it just gets to our hands. You've already dealt with it for a long time, so
And
thank you for your
recognize that.
understanding and time. I think it all worked out well, and I think the park is in the right spot where it should be at this time, so.
So again, thank you.
Great, thanks, Ken. And what for go Village Players? What's exciting happening at Village Players?
All sorts of things, as usual, Mayor. So hi, everyone. My name is Amy Waldvogel. I'm here representing the Village Players up the street at 8 North Fort Thomas Ave. Today, mostly I want to invite people to come play with us. Come be a part of what we're up to. Right now, we don't have any productions coming up in the near future. Our next show for people to buy tickets, of course, we want you to buy tickets. Please buy tickets and come see our shows. But our next show is going to be Abigail 1702, which is an unofficial sequel to The Crucible that we all read in high school. Spooky, scary, good stuff. That will be happening the last weekend of September and the first weekend of October, so September 26th to October 4th. But as I mentioned before, we're looking for people to come play with us. We need some crew members for that show. We need someone to push the button to make the sound happen. We need people to usher. We need all those great things. And our members do that, but our members do that a lot, and we would love to have more members. So we want to invite people to come and join us for that. If anyone is interested, you can send an email to abigail1702@villageplayers.org. You can get our attention that way. We also have auditions coming up in August. If you think you might like to be on stage, Double Wide Texas Christmas is auditioning on August 10th and 11th. And that will, of course, have a whole platoon of production people. I happen to be the producer of that one, so definitely come talk to me if you're interested in that. But as I mentioned before, tickets are always awesome. We'd love to have, we can't do any of it without people buying the tickets. So please do that, villageplayers.org. Individual tickets are available and season tickets are still available. You can get all 4 of our main stage shows for the price of 3 tickets. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thanks, Amy. Steph Chalk.
Thank you, Steph Chalk, 21 Lafayette Avenue. I'd like to talk about finances and terms that we use in the finance area. First order would be Ordinance 07-2025. In Section 1, under resources available, which is right in the beginning, it says estimated carryover. And I'm curious, is that referring to reserves? Is that considered reserves?
Do you like retained earnings in business?
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I'm trying to pull it up.
Okay, I've got the sheets if you want.
Which one is it now? 07?
07, yeah, it's the same in both of them actually. So it's estimated carryover is what it's called.
And which page is it? I'm sorry.
The very
Under
first
revenues,
page.
I'm assuming?
Yes, under revenues.
Yes, that's the reserve.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
In Section 1, under you can go into 07, under expenditures is below the total expenditures is estimated surplus. Is that reserves, considered reserves? Okay. In section 1, under revenues, the line item, transfer funds, can you tell me what transfer funds, what's the source and what's the use of
From our
transfer?
reserves,
Excuse me?
from the reserves. So from our, reserves is what we call it, so yeah. So that's just a transfer necessary for the budget.
Okay, but transferred from,
Just our savings account into operating budget,
okay,
or in this case, for the capital expenses.
okay. And then we have that same thing under expenditures. We have transfer funds under expenditures. What would that be? I understand transferring in.
I have to look, I know some of that was for the sports, track project, because we're getting money in
So
from the
that's
state
outgoing.
for outgoing.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ordinance 07-2025 shows on the amended budget an ending balance of $15,495,000 and change. And that's as of 6/30/25. Ordinance 08-2025 shows a budget shows a starting balance of $15,217,000 as of 7/1. So it's unusual to me that it would be two different numbers, your ending number at one point. So somewhere between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m., we lost $277,000.
That was the payment, wasn't it? That was the first step.
No, it's,
277,000 was the.
I mean, they're both estimates.
It just seems like that would be the same number.
And I'll email you on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think we at least deserve a footnote on that or something. Next, ordinance 08-2025 shows general fund balance starting at $15,217,400 with estimated carryover balance. Why is that estimated at this point? Wouldn't that be closed?
Not until after the audit.
Okay.
That's when you'll
For
have
that next year, that one
actuals.
will be looped in.
Yeah, then you'll have actuals
All right.
at that point.
We also talk about a surplus that appears below the expense on that, and meaning obviously that there's more in there than there was there was more left in there as opposed to what was collected on taxes. So that, I looked at Motley Fool, I looked at Investopedia, I looked at Wharton School. Surplus means a budget surplus when tax revenue surpasses the funding needed for government programs, which I don't think we do that. I don't think we have all of everything's paid for by our taxes. So to me, having the term carryover and surplus and reserves all meaning the same thing kind of sounded confusing to me.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
In reserves are obviously be set aside for specific purposes beyond the day-to-day operations. So when we talk about reserves, what we have is really, from an accounting standpoint, we have what's left over right now. And that's really not the way a lot of people understand reserves. Reserves would have some forethought to it. What do we need? What do we need to fund? I know we're going to talk about a lot of that next month. I think we're going to do that in the finance area, but a segregated account might be nice on the reserves itself, and then just operate from operations. In the May 16 budget message, we're funding roughly 8.1 million of capital projects this year. So if we end with 15,217,400 and we spend 8,146,227 on capital projects, that means with nothing, if everything's the same, we're left with 7,371,173 for the end of the year 2025, and at the end of the fiscal year 2025. So I just bring to your attention, we did talk about water control on Carlisle Park. We talked about stabilization of that property. We talked about the Midway streetscape debt, which is $673,000 off general fund line from the principal payment of $416,000 and also off general fund line at $274,955 for the interest payment. When I add up all of those, and if I have $300,000 for water stabilization and to stabilize or water runoff stabilization at $2 million. I look at if we also move forward, and I know this is not accounted for on the showers for the armory and the remodel there, but roughly, if that's a preliminary estimate of $1.2 million, that leaves us at roughly $2,206,217. My point is, it's pretty tight if we do all those things. That's if everything works as planned. So I would just say, I've heard that we need a 20-year plan. I think we really need a strong 2-year financial plan with a healthy dose of fiscal responsibility wrapped around it and restraint to carry out the city for the next 2 years without really raising taxes significantly. So we need to disabuse ourselves of the notion that we have sufficient extra funds for true needs or opportunities that may arise. I hope I'm wrong about that. No one enjoys a tax increase. Citizens will be astounded how much of our 25 million leftovers funds have been spent and how it's been consumed. But again, I hope I'm wrong about all that. Thanks.
Thank you. Peggy Maggio.
Good evening, Peggy Maggio, 37 South Shell Line. Matt, before I get started, have you seen any of the tapes of the Planning Commission meetings? Have you watched any of them?
No, I have watched clips just from
What is
emails.
the reason why you're not at the Planning Commission meetings yourself?
Because I can't be everywhere. I get a briefing with Kevin, and you guys, I need to laugh at this. I'm really,
Okay.
it's been a busy year.
That's
But,
fine.
But I do meet with,
You know, the Planning
I meet
Commission-
with staff after the
If you would
meeting.
take a peek, I think you might understand, or any of you guys, what we're concerned about here. I want to start off by saying I really do believe everybody in this room is on the same page, and that same, I know Ben is and Andy is, I'm not going to speak for you, and Adam is. But that same page is that we want a city that's small, quaint, charming, family friendly, and where kids can run free, ride their bikes, or be in, at the swim club. I hope I'm not putting words in the mouth, but that's what I've gotten when I talk to you guys. The comp plan, and not to continue to be a Jeff, and Jeff, I would just tell you, I know you're glazed over, but if you guys could just listen a little bit more about this comp plan. This is why it's important. It's important because it's the guiding document of our town. It's important because courts and court cases will go to a comp plan of a city if a controversy comes up. And they'll use that as part of the evidence and maybe even the evidence on how they're gonna rule. So this is not something, I know we've talked about a lot. I know I've been here for years. Matt, you and I have talked about it a lot. My concern is what I'm seeing in the Planning Commission meetings, and Matt, I wish you would watch one. If I were the CEO of this city and I saw what was going on in one of those meetings, I would not be, let me put it this way, I'd be furious. What I'm finding out when I go into these meetings, there's no direction. I'm hearing things, Planning Commission themselves seem lost. I'm hearing things like confusing, vague. We're not sure what we're doing. I asked Kevin at the last meeting, I said, can you tell me what this project is? What's the scope of this project? What are the goals of this project? What are you doing? He couldn't adequately answer that, at least from what I can understand. They're going word by word by word in wordsmithing. Actually, Dave Warmall, the head of the Planning Commission, wordsmiths it ahead of time, and then they decide what they're gonna do. The first thing they cut out in the general goals was what the folks who were saying park-like setting. They cut that out. As a lawyer, and I'm sure Tim would agree, I can understand, they said they had absolutely no idea what they meant. Our comprehensive plan is 255 pages, and a lot of it, respectfully, is gobbledygook. Over and over and over again, Planning Commission is saying, we have no idea what this means. It's 255 pages. In comparison, Newport, Kentucky is 37 pages. Dayton is 44 pages. Bellevue is 7 pages. The city of Louisville, with a population of 623,000, is 118 pages. How we came up with 255 pages, a lot of it's speculation, but a lot of it's just wrong. I'm gonna give you some examples. I, for one, don't have any problem with the last survey because I think it does say what we want here in Fort Thomas. It says no increased density in the business districts. It says we want to keep things the way they are. We want historic preservation. Here's what we get. So what was apparently CT, when they wrote our 255-page plan, at God knows what cost, wasn't looking at the survey at all. I really don't think they looked at the survey at all. Because in here we have stuff like, on page 66, increased residential density should be given careful consideration because of the growing demand for housing adjacent to Main Street districts. That's an absolute contravention to what the survey said, which the vast majority of people said they did not want increased density. Next, part of the comprehensive plan now, in its current form, is just wrong. For example, one of the things is create a form-based code that describes the design requirements for row houses and townhouses. Well, that's no longer valid, and people came up and said that's not what they wanted. At this last meeting, the city representative went all the way through without even looking at this kind of stuff. It's just wrong. Next. There's pages where there's just no evidentiary support at all. And then, it's just actually, I hate to say it, but it's either misinformation or just plain out untruth. For example, page 79, however, is highlighted in the community survey, there is a desire to enhance and redevelop, where appropriate, the existing business districts and pursue economic development in select locations. That was actually a question in the survey, and the vast, vast majority of Fort Thomas didn't want it. So I think maybe giving them the benefit of the doubt, they wrote this and didn't look at the survey. They being CT. And you said you wanted to have somebody who knows Fort Thomas. They obviously don't know Fort Thomas. They put stuff in here that people in Fort Thomas do not want. And then, first of all, there's focus areas back around page 193. And one of the actual goals is increase critical mass of retail mixed use uses in housing. Andy, I think you said, Adam, I've heard you said, and I've heard other councilmen say they have not had one person tell them that they want increased density in our business districts. But yet here we are. And that's why this is important.
As Planning Commission said, they're keeping that in because the things you're talking about
Planning
are things
Commission
that
doesn't know what to do. Planning Commission said.
Because we discussed it, especially what you had provided us. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had lots of meetings on what
They're
you
not using
provided
this.
us.
They're not using, I follow
And
along.
I know form-based is not,
Yeah,
it's
well,
been
that
removed.
was gonna come to you, but that's still in it before I brought it up at the last meeting. So that's how these, Matt, I gotta tell you, in my 40 plus years of professional experience with the VA, University Administration, healthcare, and then law, I have never seen a process run as bad as what's going on in Planning Commission. That's why I'm here tonight. It's summertime. I don't want to be here. But I'm here to point out to you that I honestly think you should take a look at that last meeting.
Okay.
You tell me that because I do think that you were one to run a tight ship.
The last
This is
two.
not a tight ship.
Yeah.
This is all over the place.
Okay.
Then CT Consultants, Dave Warmall, the chair of the Planning Commission, expressed surprise that CT was involved. I'm not going to quote him, but bring up points such as, CT wrote this. Why would CT ever be involved anymore if we're doing a revision? The more I look at this, we're trying to put a Band-Aid on something that doesn't work. We're trying to go with a red pen. I tried to do it. I gave you this document. I gave you a bigger document. I really think you need to go back to the drawing board. So I'm here to ask for things. So when Louisville came up with a 118-page comprehensive plan, which is less than half the size of ours, it's called Plan 2040. 6,000 citizens were involved. Dayton, Kentucky says that when they came up with their 44 pages, they had citizens involved. I would ask, I think this process of Planning Commission is so, how should I put it, inept right now. And it's not the Planning Commissioners, they're trying, but they're confused. And those here that are confused, they just don't understand what's going on. Either do I come out of there with a huge headache. I don't think anybody, including the city representative, knows what's going on. I really think if you're gonna continue this process, Matt, you've got to get in there and you've got to take control. But I would just say stop the whole thing right now. And I know this, I've been saying we need to revise what we do, but I think you should stop it. I think we should get a much tighter, Tim Schneider may be directed with some tight, nice language that everybody understands. You know, I don't know how many pages that would end up being, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be 255. Then secondly, I would ask to get citizens involved. Maybe each one of you guys, 6 of you and Mayor Haas, 7 altogether, could each nominate 2 or maybe 3 citizens. That would be a total of either 14 or 21 citizens. And I think that would be if everybody brought 2 or 3. That'd be a nice cross-section. Get a citizens group together and let's talk about what we would like that to be. Talking about a survey, I mean, I have no idea what Fort Thomas wants. I know what they wanted in 2016, we're almost 10 years later. We need a nice, tight survey. Someone out at NKU who does surveys, maybe the Department of Psychology, or I know there's like Kentucky Association of Urban Cities, or you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, they could possibly put together a survey. But again, like I said, the results of that 2016 survey are actually what I think people in Fort Thomas do want. The problem is the comprehensive plan doesn't reflect that. So number one, let's stop this process, let's get you involved. You know, Matt, you and I talked about this. That city representative, way back in 2000 when it came to One Highland, I don't think One Highland would ever look like what it looks like right now if the design review guidelines had been correctly applied. They weren't. And that was a representative who was doing those meetings also. Number 2, get citizens involved. Number 3, stop CT's involvement. Let's get somebody from here in Cincinnati. You know, you say they don't know Fort Thomas, but if we get somebody from Cincinnati, they do know. They know Cincinnati.
And don't, you keep saying that. What I was talking about is I wanted to try to give somebody, if they were gonna come in and do a survey, just some things to look at, is all I was saying. I'm not saying they have to be from Fort Thomas.
Well,
I'm just, that's what I was talking about.
For example, I know we brought this up before, Sean Studer from ZoneCo, he did it over the Rhine, he runs a tight ship, he knows Cincinnati, he knows Fort Thomas, he knows, you can hire him or not, I don't have any skin in this game or dog in this hunt who you get. But let's find out who Newport, Dayton, Bellevue, and Louisville use. I mean, let's find out who can do a nice, tight comp plan that reflects what we want to do, that directs us to the future, and not 255 pages of maybe this, maybe that, blah, 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 blah. The end. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. I have a question about CT Consultants. So they're involved now, right? And I wasn't even aware of that until today. How does that work with you guys and getting them involved? And then how much are you guys allowed to spend through CT Consultants without our approval?
It's minimal. I mean, they're just.
What's minimal?
Well, I'll explain it. I mean, they're going through the process. They're the ones that laid out KRS, and then, you know, Tim, we met with Tim to make sure that everybody was correct. That's why we made that procedure. I mean, they're not like they were for the zoning by any means. And I had no problem doing that. What I was trying to do is let the process go, just to look at goals and objectives and see what they brought back.
Okay.
Before we moved this to getting a consultant. I have no problem talking to Sean, because I interviewed him before, and he's great.
Again, I mean.
But I've got a couple.
I like Frank. You know, Frank Tweedy, who lives in town. I think he's fantastic. You know, I mean, I know he's with CT Consultants.
But I told him, I told them in the beginning that they weren't going to be doing any neat.
I just kind of wonder how that works when it comes to them, and you guys hire them, and then how much you allowed to spend though without our permission? Because you can't just spend $100,000.
It's budgeted. I mean, it's just our engineer, our city engineer.
Okay, so you just take
professional
services.
Special services. Right.
So, I mean, let's get it nice, let's get it tight, let's get it legal, and let's get it so everybody understands what it's saying. I don't really care who you use.
Yeah, I can get a price to see what a company would cost to run the whole thing.
So anyway, if you would consider putting together a citizens committee, and the brand fuel survey, Adam, I agree with you, it was interesting, but it was artsy-fartsy.
Yeah, I think you combine it both.
Yeah, we need actual evidence. We need, you know, do you like this, do you like that? So I agree with you, you need to get the plans to survey, but somebody, a professional needs to be in there. Professional from the legal, because this is a legal document, this isn't, you know, how we're gonna put our new seal back up here. So I think they're just different goals.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, Elizabeth L. Green.
Elspeth Allegrini, 45 Lockwood Place. I was gonna speak on something different, but as planning and zoning, I wasn't able to attend the meeting, but I did watch it after the fact. And we had some people explain it very well. As I was watching it, I was sending myself texts. And these are just some of the things that when I heard them, I had to go back and rewind and say, did they really say that? And one of the first things Peggy kind of hit on it was Dave Wormald went so far as to say he was shocked that CT Consultants was involved. He thought that they were going with an outside, meaning a different firm than CT Consultants, due to a conflict of interest. And Kevin stated that internally, the decision was made to go with CT Consultants. I don't know about any of you guys, but if I have someone come to my house and do a project and it's okay, there's some things wrong with it. Things wrong with it meaning that it's 250 some pages long and it really includes a lot of fluff. It's not very concise and to the point with a lot of the information in there. I would not ask that same person to come back and try to fix it. I think you bring another set of eyes onto it to look at it. And then the other thing, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, the new gentleman who was put on there, he's in the service and he lives on the avenue next to Annie Bennett. What's his, anybody remember his? Okay, but he was sitting there and I think he was just in shock over the verbiage that they presented to Kevin to be brought back from the prior meeting. And it was totally rewritten by, he stated, it was rewritten by Elisa. And he kept on saying, well, this is what we said. That has nothing to do with what Elisa, what the verbiage that she used. And there was even one point where she had added a whole new section. So she's just free-forming. I mean, it's kind of, I was just in shock. There was a comment in there where they were talking about a business strategy. And Kevin Barbian, I quote, doesn't know what the business strategy is. Kevin also stated that in part 2, 15-minute, 23-second, that they were looking on changing our entry points to the city, because that was one of the goals and objectives, and they were talking about that. And Kevin stated that they were looking on changing the entry points to the city based on the new branding. But I recall a meeting probably 2 or 3 ago that it was brought up by a council member about changing the entryways. And Matt, you said, well, no, we're not going to do that because we had put the bricks around it and done some landscaping to a lot of them. So I'm not sure if there's a disconnect between Kevin and you, or if there really is going to be new entryways being made, and you know why the entryways were even being discussed. You know, it was something in the comprehensive plan. So that was a little disconcerting. And then also Kevin mentioned in the part 2 at the 24-minute that there's going to be other use for the armory than what it's currently used for. And I know that I'm getting some conflicting information. Matt, is there money in the budget allocated this year to do something with the armory, or was that removed? I know initially there was.
No, there's no money.
There's no money.
No. I mean, we discussed that as a possible future project.
Right.
We discussed that in the finance committee meeting, but the council hasn't allocated any money to that, and the staff hasn't asked for anything.
Okay.
I think the only major project we've allocated is the Midway District right now, right?
That's we have a couple playgrounds and ladder truck and ambulance, stuff like that, but yeah, that's,
Those are from-
right.
And then another comment, and it's been discussed here tonight, Kevin mentioned, he didn't know what council is instructing Matt regarding meeting with council. And obviously, as Mayor Haas and Matt, you guys have stated that there is a process and when council is being brought in. So it kind of goes to the, as you're sitting in those meetings, and I felt for the people who were actually sitting there live listening to it, it was very painful listening to it when it was recorded. You're getting a lot of conflicting information that is being given by the city employee who is running that project.
Elizabeth, you may be talking about a different spot, but my recollection of a conversation like that really dealt more with, did council want to have a earlier meeting, joint meeting, like they did with the zoning? And I know Kevin was saying that, and I think this is also what I understood, that city council doesn't want that right now. They understand it will come to them in due process. That was my understanding.
I think I was talking earlier that I'd like one earlier than later, just so that the process doesn't get too far down the road. I like the way the process is working, but I would like to meet with them. When I talked about it earlier, I might meet with them early on because we make the final decision, so I don't want to waste their time since it's something that we just won't approve. So I do recall that early on, you know what I mean? But I don't mind the beginning stages being done there. I'm kind of happy that the review, and I'm not kind of happy that I haven't seen this and I'll watch the last video about how it's going, but the fact that they're reviewing them to a certain point.
I agree with that, or waste the cost of having it drafted when you're not even gonna use that phrase.
Yeah, so I think maybe sooner or later, whenever you feel comfortable and they want to have a discussion with us, maybe it'll help them streamline with some of the questions that they need to ask, you know what I mean? I think maybe we're more, they're not really engaged with the community as much as we are when they come up here. That's not their role, you know what I mean? People aren't reaching out to them, emailing them, stuff like that, so, and that's kind of our responsibility. We're elected, they're appointed, so if you set a meeting up in 2 months, like you said, September, maybe that'll give us plenty of time to reach out to the community, find out their thoughts, relay them, and maybe it'll help them with their opinions on it.
Yeah, but, and that's what we discussed, and the reason is we can all just come and talk, right? But I want to have some structure, so you guys can have some research to bring, and right? So that's what I've been waiting on.
They're active, this is what they're appointed for because of their background, so I get it.
Elizabeth, if you could, can you email me a couple of those timestamps you were just talking about, so I have that in writing?
I can.
So I can look at it. Thank you.
And then one of the last things is, and I know this has probably been brought up probably close to over 100 times, I felt very sad for the people in the audience because there were documents that were passed out that included the verbiage that they were using for this and that they had received from Elisa, and then there were some other documents, and we had the nice gentleman who lives on the avenue. He was hollering out page numbers to the audience. Unfortunately, a member in the audience had the comprehensive plan with them, and he kept on helping them to try to at least follow along to see what the verbiage was in there, but they didn't have what it proposed verbiage. And I guess I'm having trouble understanding why we cannot receive documents. I know, Matt, we had a discussion, you said that they would be put out with the agenda and attached with the agenda. And I don't know where the disconnect is, but there's obviously a disconnect, and it's really not fair. I mean, you have people here, not me, but you have people here who have put in thousands of hours into this, and it is such a disservice to them to not give them the access to those. And then the last comment I'll leave you with, and this, I was kind of embarrassed because Dave Warmold asked why they were not utilizing the monitors here. Because they could have put that information up. Now the people who are watching it cannot, they can't see it. But at least the people who showed up for the meeting could have visibility to that. and Kevin stated, I just now got a laptop to utilize the screens. And that was kind of, I felt bad for him. I don't know what the background is on that, but you can't borrow a laptop to stream to the, you know, I'm not sure what that is, but anyway. So one last comment, the survey, we need to have quantifiable data. It cannot be open-ended questions. It cannot be a fluff brand fuel. And we have such good universities. I know when I was in college a long, long time ago, we did as a project for our theses for seniors for a marketing class, we did a survey for a grocery store. And we have some of the best universities in this area that someone would take that on. So I encourage us to utilize the resources that you have, and probably if you reached out to the citizens, we probably have people who do that for a living.
That's not a bad idea. And you helped us with the website a long time ago with the program. So,
Yep, I've got that.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Colleen Powers.
sorry, I didn't see you back there. I did.
Melanie Powers, 13 Pearson. I'm here tonight to request your help, ask for your help, because to date, myself or those of us on Pearson have not been able to get traction on a project. We have for next month will be 7 years that we have asked for. And so I'm hoping that council and Matt will be able to help us. We've primarily worked with Kevin, but to be honest, he told me I was becoming annoying. And I was quite embarrassed and sad by that. So I thought for several months about it, and I've decided then I will come here to try to get help. The project is that if you think about Pearson and the entrance to the park there behind the tower, on Douglas and then right on Pearson, there are two very unattractive, tall, I call them interstate lights. They're not like the faux gas lights that are absolutely everywhere else through the park. And as I said, next month will be 7 years, starting back when Ron Dill was here. We have requested to have that light, at least on Pearson, changed out for one of the faux gas lights. Originally, we had asked that it match green, because the ones that we had installed on the stone wall by the tower are also the same as Green Street. And so you have a visual continuity going down the avenue, and then at the entrance, in our opinion, we thought that that would look nice. And we were told, yeah, we can do that. So in the 7 years, I'll speak just for myself here, other people have also talked to Kevin. I've heard different reasons of why it couldn't happen. It was agreed upon, yes, okay, it's gonna happen, but, and then 7 years worth of different excuses. So I don't think, listening with a lot of interest to Mr. Chalk and your talk of our budget, that one light would really be a huge deal breaker. And I think that we all do, actually, on Pearson, that it would add a lot. It's more historic, visually it would be nice. And we don't need that giant interstate light, especially because 3 months ago they came and redid with one of those uber bright
LED.
Yeah, right. And it used to be that the other light that was there, which was pretty bright, my neighbor, the Files, and myself, we got the bulk of that, Now it's so bright, all 5 houses from the avenue and the tower down get to enjoy that. And I've used enjoying quotes.
Is this something we can look at? When we do
So-
the Midway District is something you can review, so that, because we're doing the Midway District down there,
So-
and adding those gas lamps.
Well, I would, at this point, because it's just one light on Pearson, even though we think the impact would be really good, a good value for whatever money it is. Since now, as I said, 7 years in August, I'm asking your help. Mr. Barbian has some obstacles about it. So, all due respect to that, I would just like to appeal to council and to Matt. Could we get some direction on this?
Yeah, it's been a while since we've talked about this, Melanie, and I know I talked to Greg about it. And I'm trying to remember, because we had talked about putting lights down that street, so I don't know if that got packed into that project or if it was a standalone, so I'm gonna need to research that. I have your email from, which I do not remember, but I replied to it in April, so I think I was heavy in budget, so.
Well, I didn't get back with you about it because I was told that I was being annoying. So that's why I sent you that email apologizing if I was. That was not my goal.
Did he say that to you?
Yes, he did.
Alright, let me get back with you, Melanie, because I have your email up, and then I'll give you a straight answer, and then I'll copy council as well. Just so they know what we're waiting on, if anything, because there's so many things about lighting in that area that I don't want to say they're wrong.
The last thing that Kevin had told me was that he said it was his idea, I'm not sure. And since I'm being honest, I think it's a particularly bad idea. But that they were going to put, or considering, putting lights all the way down on the playground side of Douglas. And, I didn't really give my opinion of that because, not what I was wanting to talk with him about.
Right.
But he did mention something about, well, we might do that at the same time, or we might wait to have the budget for that. And that's when, and he said he was really busy, and that's how the annoying thing came up. And I said, oh, well, I've been talking with Matt about this for quite a while, so how about I just talk to Matt about things, because you're busy. And that's when he went, no, don't do that, because you know how sometimes people keep harping on the one thing, and I went, yeah, and he goes, and it's becoming annoying, you're becoming annoying, and that wouldn't be good if you talk to Matt. So,
I'm sorry you said that.
I did not, well, I have a thick skin, I was a little insulted, but it's okay. He was being honest.
I'm sure it would be.
But here I am now, so I'm asking for your help, if we could just have one light. And going back to our original request, we were recently talking about this on Pearson. We still think the best idea would be to have it match the fixtures on Green, because then they also match what we put in on the stone wall where those big gates are that we open up for merchants and music and stuff.
Thank you. You're here for me by next Wednesday. If you don't, you know how to get a hold of me. Because you and I have discussed many things, so you can reach out. But I just sent an email. I'll follow up and figure out exactly what the plan is for that. I don't want to tell you what's in my brain because it could be a different light that I'm thinking. So,
do you think what the timetable would be?
I'll make it up, but by Wednesday I'll give you a real answer.
I mean, once like to order it and then have it replaced, because I know you have to.
That's
you
on
have to
a
work
telephone
with Duke.
pole, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it needs a complete new pole is the thing. So it needs to be dug up, a complete new pole set. And we don't want to set it in the wrong spot because if we're doing more later, then we have to move that, and it's a waste of time and money. I feel like that was.
Would be one. It'd be on a black pole though,
correct.
right? Yeah.
That you can't put that light on a telephone pole. It's got to be a
right,
T pole.
Right.
And there's wires on it already too.
Yeah, and it's got to be underground. You can't do a gas light above ground.
You're talking,
I mean, I guess you could, but we're not going to.
getting back to it next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
Not 2 days from now. Because I know he's going on vacation. Well deserved.
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the comments tonight, and those of you concerned about the comp plan, I appreciate you bringing us up to speed on what's going on with that. And honestly, my interpretation of the process, and I've been through several of these both here and also in the city of Newport, because I have several businesses in Newport, and I was on the committee to do comprehensive plan updates, was that, you know, we spent all the time and effort on planning and zoning and the zoning ordinance, and we got that worked out. And now let's start the review. This number one step is you take it back to planning and zoning and you say, review the goals and objectives. That seems like a simple process to me. It's like one meeting and look at it and say, is everything here pretty much aligned, or is something way off base? And then we start the process and we do the surveys and we do the public meetings and we get the input from folks. I didn't know it was going the way it's going. So hopefully we can gather some more information, get it from them, review the stuff. And yeah, I like 40 pages instead of 255 or somewhere less, especially for a comprehensive plan. Now it's different for a zoning ordinance, can be 255 pages or more, because you're talking about specifics. But when you're talking about a direction, yes. And I kind of understand why it got embellished so much, because we did, you all may not believe it, but we did have a lot of input on that. The most I've seen in any plan that I've been involved with in my entire career, where we had like six different committees, and we had a handful of people, somewhere between 5 or 20 people, citizens involved with each of these committees in all these different areas. So there was a tendency for it to get more embellished because we had all that input. So that part of it was good. But for us to go back to that now and say, okay, what's wrong? What do we need to fix? Yeah, maybe it is time to say, we need to make it a little bit simpler and focus on the things that are important to us. So I appreciate your input, and my apologies for the frustrations that you all are experiencing, because I too am frustrated by some of the stuff that's going on with issues that seem to take on a life of their own sometimes. So anyway, thank you all very much. Was that?
No, I'm sorry.
You're doing that to me.
I was not trying to take power from you.
Trying to get me to shut up. Gee whiz, I can't believe that. All right. Thank you all very much. We're going to move along now to reports of officers. Fire Department report. Chief, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So you've all heard me up here many times urge the importance of smoke detectors in the homes, which still stands true, but we had a near miss incident last week where 2 of our residents were overcome by carbon monoxide. Fortunately, our crew identified it pretty quickly. We're able to get them outside. One of them actually passed out when he got outside, but they took the appropriate actions. But they found high levels of carbon monoxide inside the home. Something as simple as a malfunctioning boiler or the gas water heater was the cause of it. We often don't think about carbon monoxide alarms or problems in the summertime, but they still happen. And if they would have had a carbon monoxide detector inside the home, that really would have helped. So they're roughly about $50 at the Home Depots, Lowe's, or something like that. But if you have gas inside your home, I cannot recommend enough having a carbon monoxide detector inside there. So,
Chief, I tell you, I was struggling. I've had stupid allergies and asthma problems, and during this winter, it was so bad. I went on Amazon and I got an air detector that does like 10 or 15 different things, just not CO2, formaldehyde, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I found out I was making bacon and eggs in the morning, and I got a downdraft blower. I didn't turn the blower on, and all of a sudden this thing's going beep, 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 formaldehyde.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all I remember about formaldehyde is the Evan Costello thing. What's this? It's formaldehyde. Give it to Mel. He's supposed to hide it. What is it? It's formaldehyde. Anyway, it is.
That's my public service announcement for this month.
That's very good.
Really make sure that you have carbon monoxide detectors. in addition to working smoke detectors.
Because you can't smell carbon dioxide.
You can't smell it, you can't taste it.
You just get tired and you fall asleep.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Plus, it's getting hot and dry out there too.
Yeah. And you know, our houses are tightened up because of the air conditioning. And all it takes is a gas water heater, just to cause a problem.
Yeah. Great, thank you. Any other questions for the chief? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to receive the topic.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thanks, chief. Okay, police department. Go
Thanks,
ahead.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
Hey, I'll give him a PSA since Chief Gammon did.
Okay.
We've had, this year we've had a lot of scam emails where they take a public employee's email and represent themselves as the public employee. All of our emails are online, us, other cities, the sheriff. So it's pretty easy just to find someone's email and name and send out an attachment that's something you don't want to open on your computer, phone, or tablet. So almost all of the ones I've seen have been a suspicious looking generic email with an attachment asking you to open it, and that attachment is the thing that causes all the problems. And you can talk to Dennis after the meeting if you want some free advice. But I'm already out of my league on what I'm saying here. Just don't open it, is all I meant to say. But if you get something that's just completely strange and it has one of our names that you know and it just looks weird, you can call and we'll tell you not to open it most likely. But those have been going around a lot this year for public employees. Yeah. So watch out for those.
I think I just got one, was it last week I sent you about? I've gotten a couple from, not Mayor Haas, but they say Mayor Haas on them. And I even got one that asked for a gift certificate from a restaurant, and I was like, this is, you know what I mean? Like it was something along, it was really close. But I would say it was just something really close, but I think, what the key, to it is click on the name Mayor Haas at the top of the link, right? Because then it'll tell you, if it's not fortthomas.org, it's not one of us too, right? You know what I mean? So with anybody, that's just emails in general.
Recently, we've had two that actually were the real address.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, they're getting happening every day. You can't keep ahead of that stuff.
And which blew up our phones because everybody that got the email called says, "Was this you?" I mean, I was literally out front answering phones because everybody else was.
It was only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Right?
So many of our emails are out there publicly and on registries and stuff. We had police chiefs calling from way down south in southern Kentucky saying, "Why did you send me this?" And I was like, "Hope you didn't open it because I didn't send it." But it's almost always the attachment though. It's just kind of.
It is the attachment. I think, what was I going to say? The other day, I just got something on one of my social media pages, an email asking me to reset my password. You know what I mean? And then I went into my social media to double check, and I have two types of authorization on it, and they actually got I actually was a real email. You know what I mean? From that social media site, they just didn't have the second form. I mean, they are getting good.
AI is making it so much
There you
better.
go.
I've gotten AI phone calls now where they sound human. Hey, how you doing? You know? And one of them asked me about some Medicare thing. And so I said, you know, my phone said spam caller or something like that.
And you
So,
answered?
so I went ahead and answered it, and I said, "Hello, spam caller." And the person started talking to me and said, "You know, you're eligible for such and such." And then they said, and I said, "Oh, am I really?" And then they said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 103. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're not eligible for this thing. Click." Sometimes I just do that for fun because, you know, whatever. You were saying
I was just saying, so in my, when I'm not doing theater, the thing I do to pay bills is I work for an information security company.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'm the consultant for, like, I don't personally have any cities, but I take care of a couple of school districts and big companies and whatnot. But you're right, the attachments have been a big deal lately, and also things that mimic Microsoft tools, so like a SharePoint file, that sort of thing, and also a lot of things that have a phone number on it where they're trying to get you to call their AI bot. But I know it's a pain in the neck to have to answer the phone calls when those things go out, but that's always our best advice.
Yeah,
If you receive
just
something
call.
you're not expecting, confirm it by some other method before you click on anything.
Right. Right. Good advice, Chief. Do you have anything else to tell
That
us?
sounds like everyone's dealing with the same thing.
Oh,
That's great.
It
I'll-
sucks.
I entertain a motion.
Receive the vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. City Administrator's report, Mr. Kramer.
My boarding report. Main, go through some projects. Main Avenue, ST1 will still be down there for another 3 to 5 weeks. And then after they're complete, that's when we will start our stabilization of the roadway. which council was aware of. We had bid this out previously. Once we have done all the stabilization, then SD1 will come back and repave it. So that was one, if you remember. We did this as a project inside of one of their projects, so we didn't have to repave, but still stabilize the road. So we're getting close to the end on that, but it's still going to be a couple months away probably before we're completely out of there. The River Road entrance to Tower Park, the new expansion there near the VA, that should start this week or next week at the latest, and that's a 3-week project. So they should be out of there by mid-August at the latest. If anyone hasn't been down to the tennis courts, they're definitely moving on that. This week they should be finishing up painting the light poles, and then they should start milling and paving this week. And then everybody knows once we do that, it's got to wait 30 days. They'll start doing the fencing during that period, I believe, and then they'll, after 30 days of it being there, and they'll start doing the painting of it.
Be prepared to receive phone calls. Everybody thinks, and it has to be a certain temperature too, even after the 30 days, it can't be too.
Yeah, we should have everything well here on that, but it did start a little later than we expected. But it definitely looks different down there without the fence up. And then the trail work that we are doing, the paving of the trail, that'll start August 4th, the week of August 4th, sorry. I don't know why my mouth is working. But that should start that, and hopefully we'll have all that completed by the end of August, so that'll be good. The streetscape, as everybody knows, in the Midway District has already started, and Russ has been working on that and giving us updates. The last project is, I know I've discussed this before, I've discussed this with KYTC since I've been here, is River Road, where the hillside from the Forest Conservancy property is pushing water over the road. It's really bad the spring and summer, because then there gets algae across the road because of all the water. It's really dangerous for motorcycles. So I've been hitting up KYTC. They do have a plan to fix it, and I did get a call last week saying that they believe they have the money to do that this year. So I have reached out to all of our legislators. So if anybody runs into one of them, make sure you reiterate that River Road needs to be done now, because like I said, the spring and summer it's bad because water is over the roadway and it gets slimy, but in the winter it's bad because it causes the ice. And just anytime there's a huge downpour, rocks and stuff gets pushed out, so PD has to close it off until we fix it. So it's a problem it's getting worse. The edges of the roads are failing. I mean, even fire department gave out an order to the firemen not to run the engines on that side of the road going up. They have to stay in the middle unless somebody's coming in to pull over, because on some of it's a 3 to 4 foot drop. So with that said, I've got District 6 to say that they do finally have the money this year, because last year they said they were hoping this year, but I did talk to them. So if you do reach out to either Shelley, Mike, or Matt, please reiterate that we need to do that, and we'll keep pushing to get that repair done. I met with Forest Conservancy this morning, and because they were going to need to provide a permanent easement in order to put what they're going to do is put a concrete wall uphill to keep the slide from happening, and they've agreed in theory to do that. So they're going to get them all the paperwork they need to take it to their board. But that was what KYTC was worried about, is getting that permanent easement. But I think we're going to be good at getting that.
On the south side?
Yes, okay. On the south side. And then the north side needs to be piped. I mean, that's the area that Chief's most concerned about, but I'm trying to, I talked to Mr. Yeager about that, and that's kind of after this gets approved, they'll hopefully do that in the same project when they repave. So I'll be pushing it. But, I mean, I've given them a little breather because of Route 8, but we need to get that done now. So that's it for projects. We do have a Finance Committee meeting on August 4th at 9 a.m. We'll be discussing various things. We'll be putting up a agenda for that, but we'll be discussing the investment policy among a handful of other things at that meeting, and looking at long-term projections here. Legislation, we do have a first reading of an ordinance for gas and electric franchise. That's just to allow us to put out a bid for the franchise, because our 10-year franchise with Duke Energy is expiring, so we need to get that we have to do an ordinance to get it to go out, and then once it goes out, then council will do another ordinance to accept it. So just, it's a very long process, but we'll be moving forward with that. Tonight, we have a municipal order for animal services. I sent this out a couple months ago, but it's one of those emails for me that's, I'm sure, very boring. However, it's animal services that Campbell County is now doing for free, and they're not charging cities, so it's actually a really big deal.
They're charging $1.
Are they charging
They're
$1?
charging $1.
I got it.
Okay.
But it is a big deal. We've worked with them since the county took over animal control from Fort Thomas, and they've done a really good job. They've been a great partner with that, so I'm really excited to get that moving forward. They were able to do it at no cost because they restructured animal control in the shelter, so it's been really great. We've got a municipal order for 2 code enforcement board members. I still need one if anybody has anybody in mind. We still have one position, code enforcement board. They haven't met in 3 years, but we still need to have them on there. If anybody knows anybody, it would be good. That's actually not a bad idea, though.
He knows the law, so he understands it, and he's got a master's.
Okay,
So
that might be
who cares?
that might be
He did just pick up another job, I think.
He did, but.
If they haven't met in
that's
3 years,
okay.
though, so.
Right.
Okay, that's actually good, so thank you for that. We have municipal order for Alan Skidmore for the Board of Adjustment. And the last one's a resolution for the state emergency management mutual aid. So that's one that the state asked us to do. What this does is, and Adam and I discussed this, I think it was today, right? Okay. What this is it establishes us for mutual aid, which we already provide mutual aid. This is for the state in general. This is usually for major disasters. The big reason that they're even doing this is just for federal funding. So the fact that we've passed this, if we do go and help other agencies around the state or even local, it'll allow us to get reimbursed for our services, either hourly rates and or equipment. So that's what that resolution is. And if anyone's questions, that's all I have.
All right. I don't believe we have reports of committees, old or new business.
Just real quick, I just want to see what's going on with the bike ordinance. If we're gonna get an update on that soon, I know that we talked about it before, adding teeth. I just want you to reiterate, like I was sitting at the Midway District, I stopped there day before July 3rd. I was sitting outside, they had the hot dog stand and whatnot set up there, so it was a little tighter than even usual, even though they're on their side. No less than a dozen bikes or scooters came by. 80% of them were riding. The staff told them every time, please don't, very kindly. Maybe 1 or 2 kids got off. They thanked the ones that were walking, and most of them rolled their eyes and sped up. And I said, how about bigger signs? And they said, you can put as big as you want, unless it knocks them off of it, they're not gonna read it. So, and it's not that I ever want this to stop, and I don't want the kids, the young ones on there, but it is, they are not paying any attention, and they're only getting, I was there 45 minutes having sweet tea, of course, so, but they are just not, it was a dozen.
So, yeah, and Chief and I have been missing each other this month. It's been a busy month. I do have that. I've actually gotten some additional research on it. The one thing I have noticed, and I don't know if council have noticed it, I've seen a handful of smaller scooters and smaller kids. So those definitely can't be in the roadway.
Oh, yeah.
So my thought was, and this was just over the last week, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to Chief, is we might put a speed limit, like if the scooter reaches that speed, right? I think we need to probably do something for the littler kids.
I don't mind kids on scooters at all. It's mainly the electric bikes that I worry about because of the weight. I just bought one for my father-in-law. He's 82 years old and he camps a lot, right? You know what I mean? He wanted one he couldn't step over, and I had to pick it up and bring it inside and put it together. It's every bit of 70 pounds, you know what I mean? So that battery alone probably weighs 20 pounds. So that's my more concern than the young kids on the scooters, but like you said, they're more. So I don't want to take kids off scooters off sidewalks.
Okay.
It's not the goal here. It's the bikes, and then just if they know to understand in the business districts, just to be on extra alert and walk through. I think, and they're not going to stop until someone in a uniform probably stops and tells them. They're not obviously listening to adults, and I don't want anybody arrested or anything like that. But you need to be able to,
Because I don't know about you guys, but I know when my parents told me, whatever rules they told me before I left the house, how many of us really followed them? You know what I mean? So, until something happened.
So to go over it, I think we probably do.
So good. I don't like what they're doing over there.
We probably need to have a law labor license.
I don't want it on
meeting.
record though, whatever it was.
For the next version, we probably do need to have it not just at a council meeting. We probably need to have a law labor license. I won't be at the next council meeting. I'm taking my son to college. So what I'm hoping, not really that awesome, but be a lot of tears that week for me. But I'm thinking the fourth weekend in August, if we could probably have a law labor license meeting, if everybody's gonna be in town. I think it'd be better just to do it there, that way we can focus on it and get
Do
through.
you want to do it right before the council meeting, or do you think it's gonna take time in between that and then the next meeting?
I mean,
to get it right?
yeah, I could do it the week before.
Okay. I mean, I'm not the day of.
I should be
more.
fine.
There's more to discuss than just being able to fine tune it before council. I mean, I get you.
But we have one on the fourth, but yeah, we might be able to do it that week before.
That doesn't matter.
I was just trying to space out stuff for council. It doesn't, for you guys, doesn't really matter, it'd be 3 weeks in a row of meetings, but that would, as long as I can get everybody there. But that's my goal. I think there's gonna be enough to talk about at this next version to actually have a committee meeting for it.
All right. We are moving down to ordinance resolutions and orders.
Ordinance number 010-2025, an ordinance creating and establishing for bid a non-exclusive electric franchise for the placement of facilities for the transmission, distribution, and sale of electrical energy within the public right-of-way of the city of Fort Thomas for a 10-year duration, reserving the right to impose a franchise fee in of the sum of up to 5% of franchisee's gross receipts per year from the franchisee's sale of electricity to electric consuming entities inside the city of Fort Thomas corporate limits, and further providing for compliance with relevant laws, regulations, and standards, indemnification, insurance, cancellation, or termination, and bid requirements, all effective on date of passage.
That is the first reading, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ordinance number 011-2025, an ordinance creating and establishing for bid a non-exclusive natural gas franchise for the placement of facilities for the transmission, distribution, and sale of natural gas within the public right-of-way of the city of Fort Thomas for a 10-year duration, reserving the right to impose a franchise fee in of the sum of up to 5% of franchisee's gross receipts per year from the franchisee's sale of natural gas to gas-consuming entities inside the city of Fort Thomas corporate limits, and further providing for compliance with relevant laws, regulations, and standards, indemnification, insurance, cancellation, or termination, and bid requirements, all effective on date of passage.
Also first reading.
Municipal Order MO 10-2025, a municipal order authorizing the mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Campbell County Fiscal Court for animal control services for the city of Fort Thomas and other cities within Campbell County.
Any motion for that?
Move to approve that. Move to approve.
Yes. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
How often do we do that? I feel like we're reading that one all the time with animal services.
This will be the last. This is the updated version.
I feel like we've done it a couple times the last couple of years, which seems like we're always, I don't know why.
Well, because when they took over, because remember when our animal control went to Newport,
Yes.
and then I looked at it, and I'm like, why are we providing service for 9 cities? And I kicked it to Campbell County, and
We just had.
they unknowingly said yes. So. That's probably why.
Good job.
That's what I was worried about with the other agreement too.
Municipal Order MO 11-2025, a municipal order reappointing Mitch Everens as a member of the Fort Thomas Code Enforcement Board for the city of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky, and setting his term of office.
Take a motion.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
If he's listening, I apologize if that's not the perfect pronunciation.
No, I do that all the time, don't worry about it.
I thought you did pretty good.
Municipal Order MO 12-2025, a municipal order appointing Kevin Meyer as a member of the Fort Thomas Code Enforcement Board for the city of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky, and setting his term of office.
Take a motion. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
A municipal,
I'm sorry, that was Kevin Meyer, yeah, just so council is aware, I forgot to mention, the code enforcement board was the last board that I was still at, where they're all in the same period.
Yeah, you're doing
So
all
I've spaced them out this time, so you will do this again in a year, but I've got one at 3, one at 2, one at 1, just so everybody is aware of that.
Sounds good.
municipal order MO 13-2025, a municipal order appointing Michael Allen Skidmore as a member of the Board of Adjustment of the city of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky, and setting his term of office.
Second.
All in favor?
Impressive resume.
That's okay, resolution.
Resolution R 05-2025, be it resolved by the city of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, that the statewide emergency management mutual aid and assistance agreement is hereby approved and adopted, and that Eric Haas, mayor, and Matthew Kramer, city administrator, are hereby authorized to execute the agreement and to request, offer, or otherwise provide aid and assistance under the terms of the agreement for and on behalf of the city of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, a public entity established under the laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and for the purpose of entering into the agreement and thereby become a party to the emergency management mutual aid and assistance agreement.
All right.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.
Council